in the laptop from Hunter Biden to Kevin Dong, who was with CEFC. And it said, quote, "The Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership." Now, the chairman he's referring to is Chairman Yi of CEFC. Is that correct?
In that stream, yes. I believe so, yes.
So can you tell me what the Bidens are best at? Do you understand what he would have meant by that? I mean, this is a Chinese company, and I think the ranking member referred to it with Gal Luft. It's the same entity that paid Gal Luft the money that he got indicted for being an unregistered foreign agent, I believe was the charge. But this is another solicitation from Hunter Biden, and he refers to the Bidens, plural, and they're best at doing what the chairman wants. I think that's very concerning to our committee because this is a Chinese Communist Party-owned entity. Sir, you've confirmed for me what I've been saying all along. The committee has accomplished in 5 months what it took the Department of Justice 5 years to figure out.
My concern is the ability to tell the truth, right? The cover-up is always worse than the crime. How many times did we hear Joe Biden say, not involved, not involved, not involved, I have no idea, yet his son says he's sitting right there while he's making these alleged influence peddling. One person has come forward, Tony Bobulinski, I believe, has alleged that the Bidens were contemplating a deal with CEFC even earlier than 2017, and he's come forward and said that. Is Tony Bobulinski the Tony referenced in the WhatsApp? I'm trying to connect the dots.
I think we need to stick to the transcript, and I think in my testimony I referenced Sinohawk, the Sinohawk deal, and we know that deal never went through, and that relates to CEFC in China.
Okay, so the Tony that he's referencing, do you believe that to be Tony Bobulinski?
In my transcript, I did not mention anything regarding Tony Bobulinski, but what I can do, again, is provide any information that I have related to him over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you so much. And then the reference to James, is there a reference to James in there? Is that James Gilliar, another Biden associate?
Again,
we might have to get that one too. That's okay. And again, I think it's just critical that we stick to the facts and not my opinion. So I appreciate the fact that you're only speaking with fact, not on a partisan basis.
Absolutely.
But if you could get those, that would help. Your team obtained a July 2017 WhatsApp message from Hunter Biden to Zaho, a Chinese businessman, and I want to read a few lines from that message. I'm sure you remember it, but I'll just refresh your memory. And I quote, Z, please have the director call me, not James or Tony or Jim. Have him call me tonight. I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. And I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father, end quote. That's a fact. I didn't make that up. That's not my opinion. That's not rhetoric. Is this, this is a message from Hunter Biden's WhatsApp app, correct?
It's also come to my attention that today, after this hearing was already underway, apparently Oppo Research is circulating from, quote, Hunter Biden's legal team, unquote, suggestions that you had leaked SARS and other investigative information to someone who had released that information online. Is there a statement that you'd like to make about whether you have leaked any investigative information to someone to reveal on the internet? And I'm sure Hunter Biden's legal team, who's obviously watching right now, and these dirt bags are trying to smear you through the press. and it's disgusting. And I'd appreciate hearing a direct answer from you, brother.
So there's two parts to this. There was that release of that bank report. My name was listed in there. So my name was out in the public as one of the IRS agents working this case, and that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So that came out. And then on top of that, me and my husband were in a report that's out on social media, on Twitter, by a person with the same last name that I have, who I've never met, I have never turned over information to. We just happen to have the same last name, okay?
Right.
I was, for my sexuality, my sexual orientation, my husband was put out there, like, information related to me. So it was in an effort to discredit me, that I'm this person working for the liberal side, and I must be a plant. And it was awful, the things that they were saying about me. But I can tell you that I've never turned over any information regarding this case to anyone related to that Marco Polo report or someone with the same last name that I have.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry
Thank you so much,
you and your husband had to go through all that misery.
In your opening statement, you said that the text message, the WhatsApp message that we've been talking about, shows Hunter Biden discussing business with his father. Could you show me where in the text message it says anything about discussing business with Joe Biden?
So if you'd like me to go through it, I mean, I can take time to review it if you'd like me to.
Well, I don't have the time, unfortunately, as you point out. I will tell you the only thing it says about it is that Hunter Biden was sitting with his father. It does not say anything about discussing any business. And Mr. Chapley, you also said in your testimony, and we've talked about this a bunch, that the agents were prohibited from pursuing leads related to Joe Biden and the big guy. But the agents did that anyway, right? Interviewing Rob Walker.
Agents interviewed Rob Walker.
And they asked him about that, right?
The word big.
Right. They didn't use the word big guy, but they asked about it in reference to that text. And do you recall that Rob Walker actually said in response to that he was not aware that Joe Biden was ever a part of anything that he and Hunter were doing?
That's what the witness said, yes.
Yes. And then you describe a lunch, what we talked about earlier, where Joe Biden came to say hello at the Four Seasons Hotel to lunch that he was having with CEFC executives, right?
That's correct.
But what you didn't talk about is what Rob Walker said the origination of that lunch was. And you testified that he said that Hunter told his dad, according to Rob Walker, quote, "I may be trying to start a company or try to do something with these guys." Now, let me ask you something. That doesn't sound much like Joe Biden was involved in whatever Hunter Biden was doing with the CEFC if Hunter Biden is telling him that he's trying to do business with them, does it?
No, but it does show that he told his father he was trying to do business, and he was talking.
Well, that
to
is
his
true.
father
Hunter Biden
about the
does
business.
try to do business. That's correct.
Yes.
So you don't not only have no direct evidence connecting Joe Biden to any of Hunter Biden's business deal, you actually had proof that he wasn't involved. That is the proof that you had. And in the end of the day, that this was a 5-year criminal investigation with tens of thousands of documents, maybe hundreds of thousands, unusual warrants, aggressive techniques. You wrote a report recommending felony charges. It went to DOJ tax. They wrote a 99-page memo approval, right? And neither of you saw that, did you?
That's correct.
That is correct.
And what was their recommendation?
So all I know
Approval, discretion, or declination?
So I have to stick to the confines of...
You testified that it was discretion, which means that it wasn't an approval, it was to the discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office, which had that DOJ tax memo, which had information from the defense lawyers that they spoke with, and they are the ones who have to prove this case in court. And I will tell you, as a federal prosecutor for 10 years, and I worked with many of your colleagues who do great work, and I'm sure you do great work as well. But I never met an agent who didn't want to charge every possible case. But what I notice in 5 hours of testimony today is that neither one of you has ever mentioned a portion of the case that may not be so strong, or may be suspect, or may have a defense. And that's because that's what the prosecutor has to think about before charging a case. And that is not what the special agent report does.
Total transfers from Hudson West 3 to everyone was $3.7 million.
$3.7 million. How much money did Hunter Biden and his business associates receive from the Ukrainian company Burisma?
Burisma paid to everyone involved $6.5 million.
$6.5 million. Burisma also paid Blue Star Strategies and a law firm hundreds of thousands of dollars, bringing the total Burisma payments to over $7 million. Is that correct?
That is correct, $7.3 million.
$7.3 million. Between 2014 and 2019, this brings the total amount of foreign income streams received to approximately $17 million, correct?
That is correct.
What was the purpose of analyzing money from foreign sources, and do you have documents to support your findings?
So for the purpose of documenting the foreign sources is we, as a part of a normal international tax investigation, we have to figure out where the money's coming from. You have to follow the money trail. And as a part of that process, we have to follow different transactions, identify different foreign entities that might be paying a person.
I've also reviewed those same bank reports, commonly referred to as SARS, Suspicious Activity Reports, and I'm very troubled by them. We read thousands of them in the Treasury. This particular excerpt from a SARS report talks about human trafficking and in regards to Hunter Biden and Owasco and payments he was making.
So I can tell you that there were deductions for what we believe to be escorts, and then that $10,000 golf club membership. Yes, that was not a golf club membership. That was for a sex club payment.
It's very serious that Hunter Biden was paying this woman through his law firm and then writing it off as business tax exemptions. Most people write off, their write off things for their taxes through their businesses, like a meal or say office supplies. But can you confirm for me that Hunter Biden had written off payments to prostitutes through his law firm, Owasco?
I appreciate the question given by the statute. I'm limited in my testimony today, and I respectfully would need to turn those records over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Okay, thank you. This is also a suspicious activity report showing that victim one, the woman that was paid for prostitution, that traveled from California to Washington, D.C., paid for by Hunter Biden. This is an excerpt from a SARS report that we've read in the Treasury, and I think you all have looked at these too, showing that victim one was supposedly an employee of Owasco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Chairman Comer and his team have done an outstanding job of uncovering the millions of dollars sent to Hunter Biden from foreign sources located in places like China, Romania, and Ukraine. It's pretty obvious that the Hunter Biden's only avenue for making money is the influence over his father. Now, the only thing missing is direct evidence that Joe Biden knew and participated in these bribery schemes. That is where you brave men have come in. Their investigative efforts have the potential to uncover direct evidence in a pay-to-play, and in some cases, it did. Did the DOJ prosecutors deny your request to look into the famous, quote, "I am sitting here with my father" text from Hunter Biden? Did they allow you to obtain location information to see where the text was sent from?
So I know it was an issue that came up, whether we can get the location data, and I know that was a conversation that I would have had with the assigned prosecutors. I recall them saying to me that, how do we know that he's there? How do we know that that's true, the statement that's being made there? And then I said, well, we would get the location data. So as a part of my normal investigation, that's what I would do. And what I can tell you is I know I didn't do it. I don't know if the FBI ever ended up doing it. It was kind of like a let's wait or I need to think about it, I guess, is the proper response.
Gotcha. My time is up. I yield back.
So let me conclude by asking a simple question. Mr. Shapley, yes or no? Do you know the rate at which black taxpayers are audited as compared to taxpayers who are not black?
No, I don't know.
Well, the answer is black taxpayers are audited at 2.9 to 4.7 times the rate of non-black taxpayers. Another question for you, sir. Yes or no? Will this hearing help alleviate the racial disparity in the rates of the IRS audits? No.
That's not the topic of
Thank
this
you. And with that,
We've heard a lot of rhetoric today, and I just want to talk about as much as we can, just the facts, just stick to the facts. So, Mr. Shapley, in August of 2020, your team obtained a July 2017 WhatsApp message from Hunter Biden to Zaho, a Chinese businessman, and I want to read a few lines from that message. I'm sure you remember it, but I'll just refresh your memory. And I quote, Z, please have the director call me, not James or Tony or Jim. Have him call me tonight. I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. And I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father, end quote. That's a fact. I didn't make that up. That's not my opinion. That's not rhetoric. Is this, this is a message from Hunter Biden's WhatsApp app, correct?
It's from a search warrant from a Apple iCloud backup. Yes.
From where? From whose phone? My phone? Your phone?
It was from Hunter Biden.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Wasn't
I didn't
from
mean
his
to be
phone,
disrespectful.
But it was from Hunter Biden, a Hunter Biden device.
Yes, okay, thank you. But it was linked to Hunter Biden, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Shapley, were the Bidens contemplating a deal with CEFC in July 2017 timeframe?
So I would just have to stick to what was in my transcript. I don't know if I really described that.
And then
Have you?
I think that's a portion of
Okay.
the WhatsApp message. However, I do believe there's a full chain that if it's relevant, we can turn that over to the House Ways and Means Committee, and they can decide to vote to release that to you.
That would be appreciated. I just wanted to give, in my limited time, just to set the stage. One person has come forward, Tony Bobulinski, I believe, has alleged that the Bidens were contemplating a deal with CEFC even earlier than 2017, and he's come forward and said that. Is Tony Bobulinski the Tony referenced in the WhatsApp? I'm trying to connect the dots.
I think we need to stick to the transcript, and I think in my testimony I referenced Sinohawk, the Sinohawk deal, and we know that deal never went through, and that relates to CEFC in China.
Okay, so the Tony that he's referencing, do you believe that to be Tony Bobulinski?
In my transcript, I did not mention anything regarding Tony Bobulinski, but what I can do, again, is provide any information that I have related to him over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you so much. And then the reference to James, is there a reference to James in there? Is that James Gilliar, another Biden associate?
Again,
we might have to get that one too. That's okay. And again, I think it's just critical that we stick to the facts and not my opinion. So I appreciate the fact that you're only speaking with fact, not on a partisan basis.
Absolutely.
But if you could get those, that would help. Because in another message, Zaho responds to the earlier message, copy, I will call you on WhatsApp. And Hunter writes back, oh, my friend. Okay, my friend, I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Again, my concern is the ability to tell the truth, right? The cover-up is always worse than the crime. How many times did we hear Joe Biden say, not involved, not involved, not involved, I have no idea, yet his son says he's sitting right there while he's making these alleged influence peddling.
My understanding is that this committee was provided the suspicious activity reports on the condition that it not publicize them for the reason that they are not actually even allegations, much less evidence of anything. And my colleague from Georgia has now just revealed it publicly.
That is a good point. However, that suspicious activity report has been public for years. That suspicious activity report was on the internet long before I became chairman of this committee. So that particular suspicious activity report has already been publicized.
Thank you.
And then Donald Trump's hand-picked prosecutor then made recommendations to charge Hunter. He acted independently, and he himself has confirmed this. You did your job making recommendations, and then the prosecutor did his job. You don't have to agree with his conclusions, but that's the bottom line of what we have today at this hearing. But today's hearing is like most of the majority's investigations and hearings. A lot of allegations, zero proof, no receipts, but apparently some dick pics.
My good friend, distinguished gentleman from Texas, Mr. Roy, also a member of the Rules Committee.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes. Thank the Speaker. I thank the Chairman. This is an impeachment inquiry defined as an act of asking for information. Nothing more, nothing less. The inquiry is to further investigate at least 3 things. 1, the extent to which Joe Biden, as Vice President, was involved with the flow of millions of dollars from foreign companies and interests in China and Ukraine into the Biden family, into numerous shell companies, including Hunter and his involvement. Devin Archer testified the Vice President was in fact at Hunter's business meetings, and there are numerous emails and other evidence indicating that the big guy or dad was involved. 2, the extent to which Joe Biden has lied, to the extent of his involvement. Involvement that Hunter all but acknowledged today when avoiding his deposition in a show press conference on the Capitol steps by carefully saying his dad was not involved financially in his businesses. 3, the extent to which Biden and his administration have obstructed justice by preventing Jack Morgan and Mark Daley with the Department of Justice from testifying to their involvement in DOJ and IRS deciding to slow walk 2014 tax charges and 2015 charges so the statute of limitations would lapse. All the more interesting in light of Hunter Biden being indicted just last week on 9 counts of tax offenses for failing to pay $1.4 million in back taxes after writing off hookers and sex clubs. All of which was only brought to light because a judge called the bluff of Weiss's sweetheart deal. By only providing 14 of 82,000 emails with pseudonyms, of which 29,000 were tied to Biden's family businesses. 3rd, by limiting the scope of witness testimony from Department of Justice witnesses over and over and over again. This is an impeachment inquiry. That's all. What are my...
These people are in the White House every day, formally making policy, unlike Hunter Biden. Now, the Biden family attacks, of course, went nowhere. And so they tried, of course, to create a new storm, a new conspiracy theory with the so-called FBI Ukraine document, another fake scandal. This new fake scandal had a lot of hype, a lot of scary headlines from our chairman, from a lot of members of this committee. But a lot of us actually read the document. And when you read the document, it was pretty clear this was all hype. Just a wild accusation being passed along to the FBI with zero proof. And where did this accusation actually come from? Rudy Giuliani. Just another Rudy Giuliani tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that went nowhere. Giuliani recommended that Rudy Giuliani, by the way, whose law license is being recommended to actually be removed. No evidence that the president or his son Hunter interfered with Ukrainian politics, and there never has been. The Republican U.S. Attorney Scott Brady, handpicked by Donald Trump, determined it did not have sufficient evidence to further investigate Rudy's claims. But members of this committee, even today, repeat this narrative over and over again. More accusations, no proof, no receipts. So what's next in the switch hunt? This man, Gal Luft. The Republicans were so desperate just last week to find someone who could tell them what they wanted to hear that they promoted and collaborated with a Chinese spy trying to influence U.S. policy while selling weapons to Iran and Libya. So why is the so-called whistleblower missing? We don't know. Skipped his bail, being searched upon after being arrested. Now we're so desperate to cling to this narrative that they're defending this alleged crook. I want to know, we have questions. Was the chairman, was the committee staff in contact with Mr. Luft while he was a fugitive?
Or, Mr. Chairman, what if we talked about the other unspoken two-tier justice system in this country? The one where people of color are subject to a deliberately harsher system at every turn, from policing to prison to parole. In this country, a black person is 5 times more likely to be stopped without due cause than a white person. And black defendants are 25% more likely to be held pre-trial. Meanwhile, the twice indicted former president is out campaigning around the country and didn't even have to post bail. Yet hundreds of thousands of Americans sit behind bars waiting for their day in court. These are the types of lived experiences we should be addressing in this oversight committee. This is the real two-tiered justice system, and it's the justice system Democrats are trying to fix after 4 years of Donald Trump's misuse. And the American people have lost track of your supposed investigation of President Biden. Or is it an investigation of his son, who does not and has never worked at the White House, or another family member? We can't even follow which investigation we're discussing today. Is it the FBI, the IRS, XXX, or something new? I know the American people are confused because we're all confused what we're doing here. Nothing this majority has claimed about the president or his family has merit.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, did the DOJ prosecutors allow your team to access the laptop?
Did the
DOJ prosecutors.
So when the laptop comes in, there are computer investigative specialists that review the laptop, and they create reports and pull stuff from.
And you were prohibited from looking at anything on the laptop, right?
We saw some, but not all.
Okay, gotcha. Is it normal for the DOJ to deny this type of access to investigators?
No, that's the first time I've experienced being limited to evidence.
Did Assistant Attorney Wolf collaborate with the data on the laptop?
Did she
collaborate the data?
Corroborate. I wouldn't know.
Okay. Now, I guess my question comes back, and the reason I went down this rabbit hole is it your conclusion that you were interfered with, and that those that interfered with you are as guilty as those creating the problem? Are they accessories to a crime, is what I'm getting to.
Well, I would agree that there were investigative steps that were definitely obstructed by DOJ that I'd never seen in my 14 years, and just honestly just makes no sense. We wouldn't want to collect all of the evidence available. I can't opine on the second part of your question.
Gotcha.
Which brings me to the point of political influence. Where there actually is a set of breadcrumbs, however, is in a set of tweets and letters sent from former President Trump to several chairs, to the chair of the House Judiciary Committee that we see here. In fact, according to New York Times article, which I'd like to present to the record today, President Trump's attorney wrote to the Judiciary Committee chairman urging him to investigate what he called, quote, a rogue local district attorney. And after that New York DA convened a grand jury that ultimately indicted Donald Trump, Chairman Jordan complied with that letter. Shortly after President Trump's attorney sent that letter to the committee, which is highly unusual, a very highly unusual act. And in fact, after that, on March 20th, Chairman Jordan, together with the Committee on House Administration, Chairman Brian Steele, as well as the chairman of this committee, wrote to District Attorney Bragg and then demanded a sweeping series of documents, including communications between the DA's office and the Department of Justice, also highly unusual. In fact, on his Truth Social account later on, Donald Trump claimed that the U.S. attorney investigating Hunter Biden, a U.S. attorney, by the way, that Donald Trump appointed, was, quote, a coward. And then in that, he then urged that maybe the presiding judge will have the courage and intellect to break up this, quote, cesspool of crime. Curiously, just a few days after this tweet, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith, sent a letter to U.S. Attorney David Weiss and Attorney General Merrick Garland, who are implicated in this hearing, explicitly asking them to place the whistleblower testimony from the committee's depositions into the court record, which were addressed during the chairman's opening statements, before Hunter Biden's plea hearing at the end of the month. And as you can see right here, Chairman Smith explicitly said, and I quote, entering this information into the formal record. Additionally, those two chairmen waived onto this hearing today. Highly unusual.
Will the gentlelady yield?
And one moment. And when we talk about political influence, we are not here today, unfortunately, because the facts have brought us here. We are here today because Donald Trump is exerting an influence campaign in Congress when he is no longer president of the United States. In addition to that, if we want to talk about charges that have been dismissed, and if we do want to follow the evidence, perhaps we should discuss Ivanka Trump's investigation who was close to being charged with felony fraud after Donald Trump's personal attorney provided political contributions to the local DA. Those charges were dismissed, and ultimately we saw that DA Vance, President Trump's attorney, provided over $50,000 in political contributions after the case was dismissed. So when we talk about political contributions, I would hope, if we are following the evidence, that we are willing, that this committee, if this committee is going to go there, that they be willing to open investigations into the dismissal of charges against Ivanka Trump. And, by the way, if the gentlelady from Georgia wanted to follow evidence, we should also take a look at, hypothetically, a case where sex trafficking charges against a 17-year-old girl potentially...
The gentlelady's time's expired.
Just think, Mr. Shapley, two quick things. Did Hunter Biden, in any way, in your knowledge, not Hunter, but did any of his children receive money, yes or no?
I think Special Agent Ziegler would be better to...
Yes or no?
Special Agent Ziegler would be better.
Either one, yes or no?
Congressman, thank you for your question. Given by the statute, I am limited in my testimony that I can give here today, but we can turn over any of the records that relate to the adult children.
Yes, we'd like to
House
see
Ways
those.
and Means Committee.
We'd like to see those. Really, I would, since we are so concerned about tax evasion, and we've got people at the highest levels of government doing it, and we don't want to talk about that at all. Now, here's what galls me. I don't like these attacks on the Department of Justice, the FBI, the IRS, as if they are somehow anti-U.S. agencies. Those agencies keep this democracy in check. It keeps them afloat. They provide the checks and they provide the balances. And we could be, quite frankly, using our time to better talk about crime in America that's affecting everybody, attacks on women's health, the economy, budgetary issues, public education, housing, the need for senior citizens to be able to pay for prescription drugs, child poverty, and mental health, to name a few. And yet we are doing this all over again for the Hunter Biden show to someone who has pleaded guilty and has taken responsibility for not filing taxes for 2 years. This is ludicrous. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. None. I yield. And I would welcome also a hearing on the former president's history of tax evasion and how long it took to see his tax returns covering 10 years and what was the outcome of that decision. You know, the Trump organization was hit with $1.6 million in Manhattan State Court being convicted of a tax scheme. So let's be real when we talk about this. It's not just Hunter Biden. But as long as we're saying Hunter Biden, we forget everything else. And again, Hunter Biden did step forward and said, I did not file taxes in 2 years. And yes, this gun charge, I will take responsibility for. Brought up the word suspicious activity because that's just what's taking place in this room. Make no mistake about it. And I want to congratulate my colleagues from across the aisle for gathering us here today, almost distracting us from the biggest investigation that is going on right now in our country and in our nation's history involving the former president and the front runner for the Republican nomination, who is currently facing a 37-count indictment this week And maybe 2 weeks from now, more, and maybe 2 weeks from then, more. But we're spending our time talking about Hunter Biden, someone who has already pleaded guilty to not filing his taxes, having a gun charge, and now I hear also paying for prostitution. But let's just remember that there was a case in New York not too long ago where our former president also got into trouble regarding payments and regarding a stripper and was found guilty of a violation in civil court. Now,
You started an investigation into Hunter Biden, codenamed Sportsman, which opened in November of 2018. It was an offshoot of an investigation the IRS was conducting into a foreign-based amateur online pornography platform. This is evidence of Hunter Biden making sex. Excuse me, this is my time. Making pornography.
Should we be displaying this, Mr. Chairman, in the committee?
Gentlelady's time has expired.